Hey folks, another upgrade on my beautiful Yamaha MT-03. This past summer I installed a T-Rex Racing 1-inch lowering kit. This took my seat height to 29.5 inches, which is perfect for me, but it meant I had to shorten my kickstand, otherwise my bike would stay too vertical, as you can see here. Now, an adjustable kickstand can run you anywhere from $63 up to $200. And if you order the lowering kit that includes the kickstand, it'll run you almost $400. So here's how I shortened my MT-03 kickstand for $14 with no welding. So to start things off, I made a reference line right down the center of the back of the kickstand, starting from the spring mount. This is because we're going to remove a section of the kickstand and we want to be able to put the bottom section back in at the exact same location without really having to worry about detailed measurements. Then I cut out a 7/8 inch long section out of the kickstand. Now you want to make your first cut right at the bottom of the spring mount. You want to do this because you want to leave as much room in the bottom half of the section as possible. Then I went to Ace Hardware and picked up a 7/8 inch diameter by 6 inch long threaded steel stud. This cost me about $14. Now the 7/8 of an inch stud is slightly too big for the ID of the kickstand, so I put it on a grind wheel and just took off a little bit of the threads all around, nice and gentle. Now when you do this part, this is important. Take your time. Don't grind off too much. Grind a little, check it, grind a little, check it. You want the stud to fit as snugly inside the ID of the kickstand as possible, but ensuring that the stud went all the way to the ends of the kickstand on the inside. Now that the stud fits properly in the diameter, you just need to trim it to the right length. In my case, I had to take off about an inch, and I just used a hacksaw. As I said before, you want to make sure the stud goes all the way to both ends as much as possible, and you want to make sure that the two edges of the kickstand can meet together before you bond them. That's the most important part. Now, we're going to use JB Weld to hold all this together, and I'll explain that in a minute, but for now, I want you to see the importance of getting this seam right. It's very important that the two halves of the kickstand meet while the JB Weld is curing. In fact, if the stud on the inside is slightly short, maybe just a 1/16 of an inch, moves just a little bit, that's fine. It's more important that the two halves of the kickstand come together, and this is one solid piece when the JB Weld dries. Again, there's no JB Weld in between the seam here, it's just holding the parts together on the inside. And my apologies, this is the one image I didn't take during this project. I'm showing an image of the finished kickstand here so you get the idea. Okay, and now we're ready for the final steps of the finished assembly. Now, thoroughly clean and dry the ID of both sides of the kickstand and the stud using isopropyl and paint thinner to get rid of all the grease. Next, you're going to mix a big batch of standard JB Weld and completely coat the inside of the ID of the tubes as well as the stud. You want to be able to cover this completely and fill all the gaps. And then mounted it together, aligning it with the alignment line that I had on originally. Now, because we did use so much JB Weld to ensure all the internal gaps are filled, you're going to get a lot of JB Weld that squishes out when you push the two halves together. This is fine. This is what you want to see. You just want to make sure you clean it up as much as possible when the two halves come together so you don't have as much sanding to do at the end. Now, one thing I want to stress here, guys, just so you know, it is not the JB Weld that's giving you the strength of your kickstand, okay? The JB Weld is just holding these three pieces together and making sure they don't rotate once everything is dry. So the JB Weld is actually taking very little load. In fact, as a test, I dry fit these parts together and put them on my bike and made sure that the kickstand held the bike up with no JB Weld, and it worked no problem. You have a solid rod of steel in the middle, so you've created a solid kickstand out of what was a hollow one, and the two seams of your kickstand are back together again as they were originally, and it's the metal compressing on itself that's giving you all your strength. The JB Weld is just holding the three pieces together. So don't think that I created a fix here that's relying on the JB Weld for its strength. It's not. The JB Weld is just holding this all together. It's the metal that's taking the load. So feel confident in that. Okay, now moving on to the finish. Now you just hold it steady for 24 hours while the JB Weld cures. Once the JB Weld is cured, you just sand it, clean it, prime it, and paint it. I used a semi-gloss black. I probably should have used a gloss black because when it dried it wasn't as shiny as the original Yamaha, but that's up to you. This holds up the whole way to the bike with no issue. I've been using this all summer, and you can see when it's done it looks great, and it only cost me $14. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as I continue to enhance my amazing MT-03. If you did enjoy it, much appreciated if you'd click like and forward it to as many of your friends as possible. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.